from there to here. It's been a long time, but my time is finally near. And I can see my dreams come alive at last. I will touch the sky. And they're not gonna hold me down no more. I can't. Oh, hello everybody. How is everyone today? Hopefully, let me know how the sound is. Oh, Sanford Gravel, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. Everything sounds good because my mic actually broke this week, so I have to order a new one. It's coming in hopefully this weekend, so I'm stuck with this for the time being. So I just want to make sure it sounds all good to everybody. Let me know if there's any issues with the sound out in there in the chat. Just want to know. No worries, Andrew Michael. Have a wonderful evening. Hope you're doing all right. Sounds good. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. Hello, everybody. Arlequin, Olivia, a Dream in Nixie, excuse me if I said your name wrong, and Forza 6K, Andrew R. McDudd, Just Carowin, Punk Rock, Miss Wicked Wolf, Cass the Lass, Opinions no one cares about, Cappuccino Crafts, Cass the Lass, I've already said your name twice, Dirty Ernie Productions, so many people. It is good to see everybody. Oh, and thank you so much, Cast the Last. I agree so much. Enterprise did have the best Mirror Universe episodes of all time. In fact, I did a ranking video of the Mirror Universe episodes, and I believe I put the Enterprise one as number one. I either put the Enterprise one as number one, or I put the original series Mirror Mirror as number one. I believe I put the Enterprise one as number one, though. The two-parter that they had. I don't remember off the top of my head. But regardless, I 100% agree. I adore the Enterprise Mirror Universe episodes, and I thank you, Cast the Last, for the super chat. That is super kind of you. Hello, Punk Rock. Yes, I agree with you. In fact, I do wish to start off this live stream with a bit of a kind of a statement that I just want to rant about it somewhere for just a hot minute. And I won't talk about it for too long because I know a lot of you probably are coming to this live stream because you want to distract yourself from a lot of this stuff, but I think I would be remiss without saying it somewhere on my platform other than Twitter, where I ranted about it for a good long while. But I'll be honest with everybody. Last night was rough for me, and honestly today I'm rather tired because I didn't get as much sleep as I would have liked. And the reason for that is, as I'm sure many people are feeling, was because of the debates here in the United States. I'll preface it this way before I say anything specifically. I know that probably most of you in this live stream and most of you that watch this in my channel, my videos, are probably leftist or at the very least liberal, Democrat, lean to the left side of things, regardless of if you're American or not. Though I'm sure there are some conservatives who do watch this channel regularly, and I welcome you, and I always, as always, I always welcome anyone here as long as you are kind, caring, and open to hearing differences of opinion and discussion, and never put anyone down. So I want to preface it that way. What I saw last night with the debate was honestly terrifying. I honestly was just really terrified to just see the level of discourse my democracy, American democracy, I should say, because not everyone here, I'm sure, is American. The democracy that my country has fallen. The level of discourse has just fallen so low that we can't even talk about substantive issues. That it's become such a gross and vile thing where we can't even talk substantially about anything. And that comes from one person and one man last night. Now, it is an issue that is larger than him, that is born in America itself, and is if his tons of followers and then his entire party that follows him, Trump, I'm talking about Trump if it shouldn't be obvious, it's not just him, but he is the figurehead of it, and he is the one that showed last night just where our level of discourse is at. And I say that being the radical leftist person that Trump keeps ranting about that Biden has lost, which he hasn't. I do not agree with Biden on everything. I do not love a lot of his policies or his ideas, nor am I particularly happy with who he is as a person in some of the accusations and things that have come out about him. But that being said, what I saw last night was with Biden was a man who was trying to have an actual substantive debate, a substantive conversation. Whether I agreed with him on everything or thought he would have done a great job talking about his own issues, his own policies and thoughts, regardless, that I saw someone trying to at least have a constructive conversation and trying to be empathetic, and being bullied and abused, along with someone else who I don't love, the moderator. I don't particularly love him as a person either, even less so than Biden. But Trump just bullied and abused them nationally, on camera, in front of an entire country, an entire world, gaslit an entire country with conspiracy theories and lies. And yeah, and we just watched it on TV, and some in the media, not everyone I should say, but some of the media just treated it as normal. And that's sad and disgusting, and honestly hurts me, scares me, and right today the only emotion I can really feel is tired about it. I'm just tired. And I'm in it for the long haul. I'm happy to continue fighting this fight. Regardless of how this election turns out, there's going to be fights that need to be continued. Now, hopefully, if the election goes for Biden, those fights can be a little less stressful and scary and terrifying, but there will still be fights nonetheless. And so I'm in that for the long haul always. But dear God, if it goes the other way, there's going to be a whole other conversation. So the last note I'll end on with this rant, and I could talk a whole lot more about it, but I also know, like I said, I know a lot of you come here to distract yourself, and we'll talk sci-fi and pop culture and fun, crazy stuff. Because I need that too right now, to be honest with all of you, and other people are talking about this enough that my voice isn't going to add much, but I at least want to make my stance clear. So I'll just end on this last spot, and then we can start jumping into the chat, and I'd love to just talk with everybody. I'm just going to say, like I said, I know most of you are probably to the left on this channel. Just probably the audience I have cultivated. But I also know that there are some conservatives. But I want to say this, regardless of whatever your political affiliation is. Trump is a horrific child who has just ruined the base legitimacy of what this country can be and what it should stand for. And that is me saying that America has never been perfect. But we do have some semblance of an idealism. And Trump stands for none of that. So regardless of whatever your political affiliation, I just ask you to please vote for Biden. And that's, again, coming from someone who does not love Biden, does not agree with Biden on everything, wishes that I could vote for someone other than Biden. But it's where we're at, and he's the person that needs to get the vote. So here we are. So yeah, how's everyone else doing? That's how I will end that for that. And it's good to see you, Council of Geeks, and hello everybody that joined the chat during my current Trump rant right there. So like I said, I'll end on that. To toss something positive out into the mix in life things, and we can talk about some nerdy random other stuff. I can't announce anything specifically just yet because I don't know specifics just yet. But there is hopefully something very positive coming up in my life in the near future. I have and thanks Council of Geeks for the congrats on the 20K. Yeah, I'm just trying to dance around it because I can't make any announcements yet because I don't know the specifics. But if all goes well, from something I am hearing that I heard last week, and I will hopefully learn the specifics of before the end of the week, there is some good news coming in my life, and hopefully by this time next week I will have either announced it in a video or on a live stream. So I should know by next week. And I will let everyone know when that happens, but at least want to let you know that there are at least some good things happening in life. At least in my life, I guess. Hopefully. We'll see. Like I said, I don't know anything definitive yet, but it looks pretty good. I will know hopefully more by the end of the week. Again, sorry to tease, but at least want to give you something positive. And like I said, I will know more by next week. Anywho, let us talk. What does everyone wish to talk about today? Did I miss any super chats while I was ranting? I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Nope. All right. Well, whatever anyone wants to talk about, I am here to rant about. So please let me know. Feel free to ask questions. Give me some topics. I'm happy to hear what you have to say. And let's just hang out. Miss Wicked Wolf, if they were making a movie about your life, who would you want to play you? Oh, gosh. I've been asked this question before, and I'm never entirely sure. Probably, oh gosh, why am I blanking on her name? The actress who plays Nomi in Sense8. I'm blanking on her name for some reason off the top of my head. I don't know why. But she would probably be one of my top picks, because I think she's absolutely great. Plus, I would love a trans woman to play a trans woman, if we're going that way. So I would love her, but I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I don't know why it's not coming to me, but she would be the one who I would do. Cade MacArthur, I actually used to think Doomcock only hated things ironically because of his seemingly ridiculous supervillain persona. Yeah, not to talk too much about Doomcock, because I don't want to start anything here at the moment, but it is kind of weird that he takes on the supervillain persona. You would think it would be ironic, but I guess it's totally sincere. It's a weird... He's got a weird dynamic. I'll give him something. He's got at least some style going on. He's got... Like, the Doomcock, like, visual style is nice. It's just a weird conceit for his channel. It's better than Nerdrotic's thing. Again, not insulting Nerdrotic as a person, or we're not even talking about his content, but he has those, like, action figures nailed to his wall. Creeps me out. It's very serial killer vibes going on there. Again, that's not insulting him. I'm just making a joke at his setup. I mean, look at my setup. It's a trans flag and a poster. So he's got more style than I got going on here. So, anyways. Marge, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You are so, so kind. Thank you. Oh, that is so... Thank you very much, Marge. Congrats in advance on your good news and on your excellent DS9 Not Political vid. Well, thank you so much. People seem to really, really like that one. And I'm glad that you liked it as well. I was kind of nervous about it. Just because... I mean, I'm not afraid to do politics. It should be clear. I'm not afraid to do politics at all. But I was more nervous just because I wasn't sure the joke would go over, or it might seem like too tepid. I almost even wanted to go harder. I mean, the top of this live stream shows that I would want to go harder on that. And also, I thought that maybe the soda joke probably would go on a bit too long, and I think it did go on a bit too long. But there you go. But thank you so much. Let's see. David Duster asked, sorry if I said your name wrong, have you ever watched My Hero Academia? It's an amazing anime and the best superhero show ever. I do really want to see it. I know of it. I know the conceit of it. It's actually on my list of shows. In fact, dang it. Okay, I'm actually in like a show hole right now, and I was looking for like a good 30-minute show to watch. I started Gravity Falls, but that's actually not going to take me that long to get through. Based on Council Geek's recommendation, actually, because Council Geeks was watching it, so I was like, yeah, I might as well jump into that, maybe think of it. So actually, now that you've told me, I think I might actually jump into My Hero Academia. Or there was another one that was like another anime that was very oh gosh, my favorite anime of all time, and I'm blanking on it. Death Note-esque. If anyone knows any Death Note-esque animes, let me know, because I'm looking for more like I love logic puzzle stories. The stories that have like, they set up like very specific rules of the universe, and it's all just about playing out those rules. So Death Note is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. So there we go. Let's see. Reinhardt68, thank you so much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. You are way too kind. You need a theme song, LOL. I mean, my theme song is just going to be the Enterprise theme song. But I would love to get a theme song at some point. That would be kind of fun. I know Council of Geeks has one that, I can't even, like, do it. But Council of Geeks, I like your theme song, and I should get one too. It'd be kind of fun. If anyone wants to compose a theme song for me and I can pay you for it, again, that's the thing. I will pay you for it. I wouldn't be against that either. But again, I don't like asking for things for free. So if you do it, just know I will want to pay you. But don't do it. Just reach out to me. Don't make it and then send it my way, because then I'll feel bad if I don't like it. But I wouldn't be against it if anyone has those skills or abilities. I was impressed how you continue to drink a drink you hated. That's being a trooper, Ulysses. Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't drink much soda. All I drink, I mean, the entirety of my drinking life, in terms of things that I just drink water, seltzer water, and beer, and other forms of alcohol. So it's like water, seltzer water, and alcoholic drinks. That's literally all that I drink in my life. Literally nothing else. I don't really drink soda all that often. I don't even think if I drink anything, like, I don't even know, like, other types of drinks besides alcohol, seltzer water, and water. I don't drink juice, milk. It's just water, seltzer water, and alcohol, which is probably healthy. Probably. Probably could stand to have more juice in my life. I mean, if those Got Milk ads told me anything when I was a kid, is that drink milk or you're going to be traumatized. Because, dear God, the Got Milk things were traumatizing. Albert Pedro Trias, excuse me if I said your name wrong. Thank you so much for the super chat. You are amazing, and I greatly appreciate it. Hey, Jesse, have you seen the new Dune movie trailer? Also, are you a Dune fan? Yes and yes. Unless there was a new Dune trailer that came out in the past few days, unless you're talking about one that came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I did see that trailer, and I am a Dune fan, and I am very excited about it. I've read the first Dune book. I have not read any of the ones after it. I will say I like the world and idea of Dune quite a lot. There are some problems that I have with, like, the white savior element of it, but overall I think it's a really inventive and cool world, very Game of Thrones and space-esque. So outside of the white, I think it's a very just inventive and cool, like, political world setup going on there. I love the like priest women in it. Why am I blanking on the names? The priest women who, like, are, like, manipulating time and, like, manipulating events and can see sort of all the web of things to try and create the main character. I'm blanking on what their name are, the group of women priests in that movie, but I love them. I think they're cool. And the only thing I don't really love about the book itself is just a little bit of, I don't really love his writing style a ton, just because of how he does it. Is he's omniscient. He's a third-person omniscient narrator. Well, third-person limited omniscient, I think is what it's technically called, where, like, it's an omniscient narrator, but they tend to stick with a certain character's point of view. But what he'll do in the middle of each scene is he'll switch the point of view character that he's sticking with. I mean, normally when you read those things, you get, like, an omniscient narrator who's, like, acting as a third observer of everything, or you get something like, I'm trying to think of, like, a good example. I was going to use Harry Potter, but I don't want to use that example. Nothing's coming immediately to my mind. We'll just use Harry Potter. Sorry, using Harry Potter just because I had it on my brain from earlier. But you get, like, something like Harry Potter where, like, it's still a third-person omniscient, but you're still technically seeing things from Harry's point of view and getting his mindset, but no one else's mindset going on. You sort of get his thoughts on stuff, but it's still technically a third person. What Frank Herbert will do in Dune is he will do that sort of view where you get one character's point of view and inside their head, and you won't really get the periphery, but then he'll switch in the middle of the scene, and you won't, like, give a warning. It'll just sort of, like, happen. And it's very strange and kind of weird and off-putting. And I appreciate why he does it, because he's trying to show the political machinations of this world of, like, look at all these people, how they're thinking, how they see things, how they view things. I understand why he did it. It was just somewhat off-putting for me as a reader. But that being said, it's totally an effective tool that some people like. I think it's just my preference that kind of threw me. But I do kind of like that. But yes, I am excited. But that being said, I am very excited for the movie because it's being done by Denis Villeneuve, who is one of my favorite directors of all time. So Very excited about it. Someone asked earlier, may I ask an LGBTQIA plus related question? 100% you can. Legend Ray, excuse me if I said your name wrong, 007. But yes, I'm perfectly happy to answer any LGBTQ related questions here, as long as they're respectful. If anyone's coming into the chat and kind of rant about trans people or negatively or whatever, you're allowed to ask questions that you know maybe. I'm open to more questions than most trans people. So if you have like a slightly personal-ish question, you can at least proffer it, and if I don't feel comfortable answering it, I'll shut it down. But feel free to ask as long as you're respectful. Is basically the long and short of it. So, let's see. Yes, Katma Tally, the Expanse books do switch from character to character, but they stay within character to character They do the same thing in the Game of Thrones books, in that, like, each chapter generally is staying with a certain character. They won't jump between characters within a single scene. They'll jump characters between chapters, but not within, like, a single paragraph. Well, there'll be a switch. That's the thing with Dune. He'll switch character viewpoints within a paragraph. As opposed to Expanse, which like will generally stay with a single character for each chapter, with some exceptions here and there, but generally that's the case. Let's see. Have you seen the Netflix movie Cuties? No, I have not. I am not going to comment on it. I know there's a big hubbub about it over like it's sexualizing young kids, though from what I've heard, that's kind of the point of the movie, is it's critiquing the sexualization of young kids. So it's, again, I haven't seen the movie, but my bet is Netflix wouldn't like send out a movie that just over-sexualizes young kids without it being critical of it. So I'm betting you it's one of those situations where, and I should equivocally state, sexualization of young children is awful. I'll just make sure I say that up front. But I'm betting you it's just one of those, like, people having no ability to, like, critically read a film. It's like, well, it's showing kids being sexualized, that means it's awful. It's like, but the point of the movie is probably saying kids being sexualized is awful. Now, we can talk about whether it gets across that message well enough or whatever, but I haven't watched the movie, so I can't really judge it, nor will I pile on to the hate on it without actually having some semblance of, like, knowledge of it, to be fair. So yeah, that's probably my read on it, is from what I can tell, it is a critique of that, and people just don't get that. But then again, it also might just be the movie doesn't send its message well enough, and it just ends up being really creepy and weird, which does happen. A lot, sadly. So there you go. Here's an LGBTQIA question, and I apologize if I've ever asked this before. You have a preference for alternative terms for the umbrella. I'm not entirely happy with stating multiple letters always. Yes, and it's always imperfect, though I think someone, I wish I remembered it. I should have, and I was like, oh, that's great, and I forgot. Someone did have another letter acronym, but it was like gay, I forget what it was, if someone remembers what it was, but it was something like sexuality and gender-based minority groups was like the acronym. It was something more eloquent than that, but it was just like a term for the entire community. I personally, in terms of an umbrella term for the LGBTQIA community, I generally like the word queer as an umbrella term. I actually don't really like LGBTQ that much either, because it is very divisive. Number one, you're inherently leaving people out. Like if you stop at the Q, you're leaving out like intersex and allies and asexual people, and even beyond that, non-binary, genderqueer. Like the lettering is just like you do have to keep going, because otherwise you're just leaving people out, and just inherently in the etymology of the term. But the word queer I like, because that it is like a reclaiming of a slur towards everybody, and like everyone kind of fits in that definition, no matter what you are. Like everyone, if you're asexual, you've been probably fit in that term queer. So I like it as being a much more catch-all term. But that being said, it's hard to use that, because I do know that there are a lot of people, especially studies having been done, there are a lot of older members of the LGBTQ community that remember queer being a really strong derogatory term hurled at them and do not wish to use it as an identifier. So I know that there's a bit of a generational gap within the use of the term queer. So it's also an imperfect term. I personally prefer it over LGBTQIA, but I can't necessarily thrust that upon anybody who doesn't want it, especially if, understandably seeing it as the word queer. Um, so it's rough. I wish I remember what it was. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Paloma Bennett WordPress blog. It's GRSM. Or Council of Geeks, I think maybe you said it. Someone in the chat said it. Gender, sexuality, and romantic minorities. I like that term. I'm gonna have to drill that into my brain because I like it and I honestly forgot it. GSRM. That one I actually quite like. Now, it'll probably take a while for it to catch on, but I quite like GRSM. So GRSM I think is really great because that's a really good catch-all. I'm sure it's probably missing somebody outside of gender, sexuality, and romantic minorities, but I think that's a very good term. So like that one. Generally, I'll use queer if I'm trying to use an umbrella term, but again, I know it's imperfect. Because if I start using, I'll try and what I'll try and do is I'll try and normalize that term in my videos, but sometimes in conversation you just can't always, so we'll see how it goes. Let's see. What's your favorite Halloween-themed movie? Ooh, that is difficult. So I'm going to go, because it can't be a horror movie. I guess it has to be like Halloween-themed. I will say my one tradition that I started in college with my best friend and I, who is still my best friend, started this tradition back in college where at midnight on Halloween, we will watch This Is Halloween. Or not This Is Halloween. Nightmare Before Christmas. This Is Halloween is the first song in that movie. But it's, we watch Nightmare Before Christmas right at midnight on Halloween because it's a perfect end of Halloween leading into the Christmas season kind of movie for obvious reasons. The plot of that movie is basically that. And also you can technically count, like there's not very many Thanksgiving movies. So I would say that Nightmare Before Christmas is probably the perfect Thanksgiving movie. if we're all being honest. I'm trying to think of like Halloween themed. That's just like generally Halloweeny. I mean, I love Halloween Town, the Disney movies. I know they're kind of campy and weird, but the Halloween Town movies are kind of fun. Let's see. What else do I like? Oh, I love Hocus Pocus. That one's a lot of fun. I enjoy that one, and that one's definitely Halloween themed. Is there, give me some suggestions, people, because the problem whenever I get asked, like, what's your favorite thing, I've seen so many movies and things that I like nothing instantly comes to mind because I'm like, oh, I can't think of something specifically. Ooh, Coco. Coco feels like it'd be a great Halloween movie. That's actually true. I didn't even think about that. That's probably because I'm not as steeped in that culture as well that I didn't instantly think of it. So that's good for me to be reminded of that. Coco's a great film. What a beautiful film. Yeah, I think I'd probably go with Nightmare Before Christmas for towning technically Halloween themed, or Halloween Town. I do enjoy quite a bit. So. Right. I never saw The Book of Life. I actually should watch The Book of Life. Goratha, thank you so much. Paranorman, ooh, that's a fun one. Let's see. After watching, Legend 007 asks, after watching your vid on gender science, I wanted to ask, are you familiar with 1990 scientists saying the BNST part of the brain in trans women is more similar to cis women than cis men? I've heard about it, but I do not know enough about that research to be able to talk fully on it. The gender science videos, I'll be fair, I do know a decent amount about gender science, don't get me wrong. But those videos that I did were actually done in conjunction with I think I say in the video. They were done in conjunction with a really, really wonderful group up in Canada, the Karen L. Blair, I forget what she calls company. I forget what her company is, but it's a science. They do a lot of research. She's associated. Karen is associated with a university up in Canada, and I did a bunch of work with them. And also Karen and her wife are like the sweetest, kindest people. And Karen's wife, is who I wrote the book that I published about pop culture representation of genderqueer people. Ashley Yule. She is Ashley Yule is the other. There's two Ashleys that I work with. Anyways, Karen L. Blair is a great company. They actually did a lot of the actual like full science research. I just put in the pizzazz of making it a video. So, Yeah, so I'm not entirely familiar with it, to be fair. Let us see. I'm going to tell my future grandkids, Cade MacArthur, that you were the 44th president and blame the U.S. problems at the time on China. Oh God, don't blame China. That can breed racism. I know that wasn't your intent, but don't blame China. The Chinese government, it's its own deal. Chinese government is bad. Chinese people are totally fine. But yeah, I wish I was well, I don't know if I wish I was the 45th president of the United States, but probably would do a better job than the current. Well, I 100% would do a better job than the current president. I don't know if I would do a good job. So, yes, I agree. Oh, Gorath. Blame the CCP. Blame the Communist Party of China. Don't blame China as like a catch-all country. So. The talking immortal cat. Oh, my cat Newt. Is he here? No, he's not in the room. Yeah, he is still here, I promise. But he's been hanging out in the living room. I think I think he likes the heat, to be honest with you. And I keep this room freezing cold because I hate heat, which is why I should not be living in LA. So he actually spends most of his time. I have a coffee table out in front of my TV in the living room, and he spends literally his whole time just sleeping on the coffee table. So I think he just likes the heat, and he doesn't like getting cold. So he also seems to like my roommate better than he likes me, to be fair. So I'm just the person that feeds him. So there you go. Just another broke nerd, probably off topic. Any tips for aspiring YouTubers using Trek clips? I just had my first takedown. You had a takedown? Was it a takedown? It was a takedown, not a strike. Well, what I will say, my experience is, so, Council of Geeks did a full video on this, by the way. I would recommend Council of Geeks, Geeks video for that. Council, I think you can share clips. If you have that video at already, you're welcome to share it in the chat, Council of Geeks. It was a good video. My experience personally, because I mainly use Star Trek stuff, is that CBS is generally good about people using Star Trek clips. Paramount, the movies are different. If you're using clips from the movies, those get copyrighted all the time. Clips from Star Trek shows are generally good if you keep it under 15 seconds. Again, there are no hard and fast rules. CBS can claim whatever they want to claim at any time. So these are just generalities that I found mostly work. If you keep it under 15 minutes, you're generally going to be okay. Anything that has come out, if you're using clips from a Star Trek show that has come out within the past like 4 or 5 weeks, you will probably get a strike no matter what amount you use of it. Like if I started using like I used a clip from Star Trek Picard in one of my videos and instantly got taken down, even though it was like it was only like 5 seconds long. But then like 2 or 3 weeks later, I used the same clip and it wasn't there. So CBS is generally pretty good if you're not using something that like just came out within the past few weeks. You're generally fine. Like I would even say now, if you're using a clip from like the first episode or 2 of Lower Decks, which came out like 8 or 9 weeks ago, you'll probably be fine if you keep it short. If you're not using audio, you'll generally get away with a little bit longer. Yeah, that's generally about it. Also, the other thing too, I will say, one last thing on that note, and thank you, Council of Geeks, for sharing that. I would recommend Council of Geeks thing there. One last note on it, I will say, what was my thought? I did have one more thought, but I can't remember. Oh, CBS is also pretty good about if you can test it. So the way YouTube's back channel works, I found, is that sometimes they'll copyright claim it, which is not a strike. If you get a strike, that's a whole different deal. But they'll usually copyright claim it, and if you appeal it, they will generally be pretty good, and they give you a chance to like write something for fair use. Be kind. I usually go like, dear, to whom it may concern, I use this clip in fair use because of X, Y, and Z. I believe it falls under that X, Y, and Z for these reasons. But thank you so much for your understanding. I greatly appreciate your time and understanding in this matter. Sincerely, Jesse. I usually try and write it nicely and keep it professional. And I found that pretty much 9 times out of 10, CBS will actually remove the claim. So that's generally worked for me. I can't guarantee it for you. I can't guarantee those rules will always be thing. I mean, I have friends. I have one of my friends who I work with. He works at a small film company, and his job is actually doing those things. And he's like, yeah, a lot of it is just like me. I'm the lowest paid guy making these decisions, and sometimes I'll let stuff through, sometimes I let them won't. So sometimes you're just up to the prickly decisions of someone very low on the totem pole at these companies. So sometimes you get someone kind, sometimes you won't. And that's about it. If you had a copyright title on the clip, no. Generally, you could do that to like try and make sure they don't catch the copyright. But if putting a copyright stamp on it generally won't do you any good, really. Unless you like make it very thick, and then it kind of hides the fact that you're claiming stuff, so their like auto software doesn't catch it. Also, someone left a super chat, so I just wanted to say, also hit you up on PayPal. Your content is awesome, and you deserve the support. Thank you so much, Ulysses. You are way, way, way too kind. Thank you so much. I'm sending you love. I really, really appreciate that. All right. Oh, so someone else asked. I did get Katma. I did get your PayPal a few weeks ago. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. The thing I dislike about PayPal, I appreciate everyone's giving on PayPal because I do get some donations there. It's a one-off donation if you donate on PayPal as opposed to like Patreon, which is weekly or monthly, I should say. What the thing I don't like about PayPal is people will send me PayPals and I can't respond. Maybe there's a way in the back end, but I haven't immediately found it. So I just feel bad because people send these wonderful, nice messages in PayPal. So if you have sent a PayPal, just know that I have read your message that you sent with the PayPal. I try and read them. In fact, I do read them all. And I thank you very much for it. So apologies if I'm unable to directly thank you for it, but thank you. I really appreciate it. So there you go. Okay, someone was asking about favorite holiday. So I will say yes, probably Halloween. My two favorite holidays are Halloween and Christmas. Christmas, I'm not religious at all, but I love Halloween because I love spooky, scary, skeleton-y type stuff. So I love like the horror aspect. I like getting to dress up. It's all a lot of fun. I just like the vibe of Halloween. And when I'm not in Los Angeles, it's also fall time, which is my favorite season. Right now, it's 90 degrees in Los Angeles, which is, I don't understand why. Climate change is awful. It's really hellish. It's 90 degrees. It's like 92 degrees technically in LA right now, so hate it. I hate everything. That's part of what might be changing in the near future, by the way, for me. So fingers crossed on that. I got into teasing mode again, and I forgot what I was going to say. But I will say, Christmas is also my favorite time for slightly different reasons, because generally, this year probably will not be the case, but generally Christmas is the time when I'm able to go and visit family, and I don't really get to see family outside of that, and so I just like kind of being at home, being cozy. I just like the like snuggly coziness of Christmas, and it being a season of giving and like actively caring about others. And the thing I also say about Christmas is like I don't care how much money you spend on Christmas. I care about how much heart and thought you spend on Christmas. Like I mean, especially right now, I make enough money that like it's not great, but like I don't need, like if I'm gonna want to buy something like a gift for myself, I'll just buy it. But because that's what being an adult is, unless you're like really on the straits, which I'm doing all right now. But I think it's really like the things that matter the most to me are when people take the time to actually think about what they're going to give. I appreciate that so much, to be honest. Like I don't know. I like gifts. Like I get gifts from my brother that are like actual like letters and things like that. It's very sweet. For some reason my chat froze up on me. Let's see. There we go. There we are. I am in LA, and what I would love to do at some point, I mean, because of COVID, my plan was going to be I wanted to do a meetup, but COVID obviously put a stop on that for the longest time, unfortunately. So, if I'm still in LA, like I said, I'm hinting at stuff, which I can't really announce too much or say too much just yet, but because I don't know specifically and I don't want to put stuff out there and then have the world take it away from me. But if I am still in LA when we're able to go out, I would love to do a meetup with people. Like go on a picnic or something like that, like just have a group gathering or whatever. If I am elsewhere, I will do that elsewhere. So once we're able to do stuff safely, at some point I will love to do like a channel meetup for anybody who wants to come and hang out. It would probably be like a picnic or something like that. Just something that's not really big or anything like that. So I would love to do that at some point. Hey, Geek Filter, it's good to see you. Glad you're here. Let's see. Daryl to Trekkie, how are you doing? A friend of mine tries to write a Star Trek story once to have a changeling in it. Sometimes that changeling is a girl, sometimes is a guy. Is that problematic? No. No, not at all. Actually, I think that's great. I mean, the changelings kind of talked about. I just did my D Space 9 rewatch. They don't really have gender. So their concept of gender is just based on what they've seen of Odo and of what they've seen of solids. So you could your friend could talk about like how the changelings don't really understand gender and just putting on airs because they're just doing it because that's what they think they should do. I mean, there's some interesting ways to break that down, but inherently as a concept, having a changeling be a boy and be a girl is by no means problematic. It's actually super interesting. It all just depends on the execution of it, to be honest. It could be transphobic, depending on if you do it wrong. But it all comes down to execution. Excuse me. Yeah, hiking would be safe. I would agree, Geek Filter. I do like hiking quite a bit, but I wouldn't necessarily do a hike for a meetup just because I know some people would not be able to hike, just for disability reasons or different reasons. So I'd rather do something where everyone can just kind of chill. Let's see. Yeah, I agree, Elgorath. I do want to just be able to hug someone. I haven't really hugged anyone in a while. I mean, honestly, I might cry next time I hug somebody. Actually, oh, that's a sad thought. Yeah, I probably will break down next time I'm actually able to hug somebody. That's kind of a heartwarming and somewhat sad thought. Anyways. Yeah, Daryl to Trekkie, thank you. I mean, right now, considering this whole J.K. Rowling thing, I was like, might be problematic. No, I mean, J.K. Rowling is a whole different thing. Like, I mean, this gets into a whole different conversation, I'm sure. But again, it really comes down to how much education did you do, and how much understanding did you do, and how much what's your intention with showing the character. I mean, with J.K. Rowling, we can generally assume with the character in her book, regardless of what, how much that character is in the book or whatever, because I know I got some criticisms because I didn't read the book. Her intention is probably to highlight her point, which her point is that trans women are not women, that they're men. And either the trans women themselves or the very nature of trans women existing in a space inherently makes it able for like men, what she sees like cisgender men, to pretend to be women and hurt women. That's what her belief is. And we can read that into her work. And if we know that that's what her belief is, and we can see that in her work, and she doesn't make it clear otherwise, that's what we're going to connect. So if your friend is writing a story about changeling characters that change gender or present different genders, that concept isn't inherently in and of itself a bad thing. Hell, the thing that J.K. Rowling did, like the idea of a guy pretending to be a woman and killing people pretending to be a woman, is generally just a transphobic idea, but there is a way to do that is clear that you are not saying that this is what trans people are. Like, if you have that character, and then you have, like, another trans character that is like, I condemn that, and that's awful, and this person is not part of the trans community, or you just make clear what you're saying, like, make your point clear. You don't even have to do it without it being preachy. You can just do it as, like, through other characters. Like, there are ways to do really just about anything. And justify it within the narrative. in a non-transphobic way. So the recommendation that I would give is just have your friend write it, but have them try and be empathetic to what that would mean. So if the changelings would be characters who would not know gender, so they're not going to come in and be like, I know what a woman is exactly. They're not going to be like, oh, like they may play the role of being overly feminine because they're like, well, I've seen female women. In fact, that would actually be a really interesting way to take it, to be honest with you, because that's what a lot of like trans people do when they come out as trans women. This is something that I did. They tend to like be overly feminine because they're like, this is what I've seen women be, and then they'll pull it back. So when like the changelings come out and like I'm gonna present as woman, maybe they're overly feminine, maybe they're not feminine at all, maybe they're very like stoic. There's different ways to do it, and I would just say check in with just have them write it, have them try and be empathetic, and then have them check with trans people, like say like have them have their beta readers, and sensitivity readers, as Council of Geek says, like send it out to like 3 or 4 trans people, or people around there, and just have them talk about it. So, sorry, excuse me. Apologies for saying your name wrong. Ulgrotha. Am I saying that correct? Let me know if I'm saying that correct. Ulgrotha. Apologies if I'm saying it wrong. What is your favorite Queen song? Asked Mrs. Wicked Wolf. I mean, I've been listening to a friend of mine just recently showed me the Highlander movie for the first time a few weeks ago. So I've been listening to "It's a Kind of Magic" like over and over again. So my taste in music changes, but I've been really enjoying that song quite a bit by Queen, just because like that one. But also the song that plays at the top of Highlander, which isn't "It's a Kind," it's like "Here we are, born to be kings." Where that song's great. So that's kind of fun. Let's see. Ooh, that's a cool concept opinion no one cares about. I had an idea for a book, and maybe I shouldn't share this out, but it would be a fun idea. I wanted to write a book, like a very political book, that would basically be one day everyone in the world just switched genders. So every guy was a girl and every girl was a guy. But you kind of have to be careful about that because I don't want to like imply that people are opposite genders. But the basic concept would be that, and again, I'd have to tweak it because it's like, what would trans people change into, and what would non-binary people change into, and So, anyways, I have to figure that out. But well, thank you for joining us, Bottom Barrel Budget Films. I appreciate you being here. But I would love to showcase that idea and then figure out like what that would mean, like if all politicians now had wombs. So that would be kind of interesting. And like, how would policy changes happen? How would politics change? Would they change? Would we just go to oppressing men and oppressing women because women would be the ones in power now? It would just be an interesting concept. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, but you have to be very careful with it for the reason that I talked about earlier. That you don't want to accidentally imply things that about gender and stuff. So the concept would be interesting on a political level and a social level of what that would mean and what would happen, but you also don't want it to like ignore intersex people, trans people, that sort of thing. So be an interesting idea though. Sorry to bring that up, Daryl the Trekkie. Sorry to bring that up that overtly, but what's your opinion on the anime Ramna 1.5? To be honest, I haven't really read Ramna 1.5 in a long time. In fact, the only time I really read it was when my parents were divorced, and I would actually go and they lived about an hour apart from each other. So on Friday evenings, my mom would take me from school, and we would drive about 30 minutes to meet my dad, who would then drive me 30 minutes to take me back to his house on the weekends. And we would always meet in a bookstore. So we'd always meet, like, I think it was like Barnes and no, it was a Borders back then, which doesn't even exist anymore. But it was a Borders. So we'd always meet at this Borders, and I would just go and read through the books and try and convince my mom to read books. So whenever there was like a little bit of time, and usually I have like 10 to 20 minutes waiting for my dad to come pick me up. And so I would always go to the manga section and read Ramna 1.5 because I didn't have to buy the book. And I was always scared, like, if I bought this book, people would figure out that I was trans. Like, oh, if my mom learned it was about, like, a character switching gender, she'd learn I was trans. And so I would kind of read that. And so it was kind of like a way to, like, instigate my trans curiosity in a way. But I don't really remember much about it, and I haven't really read it since I was a real little kid. So I can't really speak on it too much, to be honest. I also will say that there's a lot of naked women in there, so like the idea, it was like a very confusing time for my sexuality, because it was like, oh, she's the main character is switching to become a girl at times, but she's also naked a lot of the time, so I'm turned on by her, but I also want to be her. It was very confusing. Like, separating sexuality and gender issues at that young of an age is such a hard thing to do, especially if you're bisexual. It's like, it's very confusing. Marge, do you visit Buffalo? Yes, I do. I mean, that's where I'm from. I'm from the Buffalo area, but I haven't in a while because COVID, number one. And number two, my parents are now, my dad now lives in New Mexico, and my mother does still live near Buffalo. I won't say exactly where, but she lives near Buffalo. And my dad lives in New Mexico, so I tend to go visit my dad more often just because there's more of my family that come and visit him anyways. He's closer to where I live. And so I want to get back to Buffalo at some point, but it's just been a little while. I was planning on actually coming to Buffalo a few months ago, but obviously the pandemic kind of changed those plans. So what are you going to do? But I will come and visit Buffalo at some point. So. Farting Ramen and her Vulcan husband. Oh boy, Cade MacArthur, what are you on about? What's going on? What's happening in my chat right now with the farting Vulcans, or farting Romulans, I should say? Do you like the Beatles? Yes, I like the Beatles. Never loved them, but I always enjoyed them. I never had like huge things. I'll do a little bit. You're someone set me up for a tease, and I like to tease. Lay Ben Tazur, excuse me if I said your name wrong. What are your thoughts on Julian Bashir being autistic? I have read forums that his storylines about being genetically enhanced is a metaphor for autism, and I personally like that idea. I too like that idea, and I have a video coming out not in October but in November. I've already filmed it and shot it, but I'm just because of planned schedule stuff. It's coming out in November. But I am doing a video about autistic representation in Star Trek as a whole, and we will touch upon Julian Bashir. So there is a discussion on autism in Star Trek that will be coming in November. So I think it's actually one of my better videos. I'm actually very, very excited about it. I almost want to release it sooner, but just because of scheduling stuff, it's going to come in November. But I think it might be one of my better videos, so I hope everyone enjoys that. Let's see. Anyone seen Yesterday 2019? Wasn't any good? Yes. I think Yesterday is a very, very sweet and fun movie. I thought it was very cute. It's a good romantic comedy. Has some good sci-fi stuff. It's very funny, very endearing, very heartwarming. Also, the last literal 30 seconds of the movie, which I won't spoil for you, but I will say this. The last 30 seconds of the movie, in light of a lot of the stuff that's happened over the past few months, and one person specifically, is the best ending for a movie I've ever seen. I'll just say it that way. If anyone's... I mean, at the time the movie came... Again, if people have seen the movie, I don't want to spoil, but if people have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But I don't want to spoil for people, but the last line of the movie was not intended this way when it was released, but now takes on a whole new meaning, and I adore it. So so I would very much recommend Yesterday. It's a very heartwarming movie. I think it's a lot of fun. So, it's not gonna knock your socks off. It's not like, oh my gosh, this is the best movie ever, but it was a very sweet and heartwarming movie. So, let's see. What do you think about autism and Asperger's being combined under a single moniker? I mean, I don't know enough about like the inner machinations of it. I am generally fine with it. because I understand for a lot of people it helps like seeing it more as a spectrum that people are on rather than you're this thing or this thing. I mean, I was diagnosed as a kid with Asperger's, and I generally tend to still see myself that way, but it is more helpful to see it on a spectrum of things because, and I'll talk about this in my video too, that being on the autism spectrum and being neurodiverse, and I kind of use those two words interchangeably, unfortunately, which isn't completely accurate, um, but the there are elements of it that we all feel, and there's like a lot of like sliding scales if you're in the neurodiverse slash autistic community. So like it's like sometimes you have oversensitivity to sound, sometimes you have very underdeveloped social skills. So there's like a spectrum, but I would even say it's like kind of like sliders on the scale. And so putting Asperger's kind of on that slidery scale, I think is a little bit better. But again, I don't know the total inner workings of it completely, of all the like way that science has termed it out. So. What do you think about the idea the autistic community and the trans community have a lot of parallels in experience? Yeah, that is very true. There's actually been a lot of studies done that there is a very large overlap between the autistic community and trans community. This one I do know a little bit about because I was very curious about it and did a little bit of a deep dive. But there hasn't really been any studies as to cause, but there is a lot of correlation. There's like a huge correlation. Like there are more trans people are in the autistic community than the general population is autistic. So what that says is there's a higher correlation of autistic people. This is presumptive, so there is no science behind this. So just take anything that I say right now as a grain of salt. But this is just kind of from my personal experience, as well as just sort of ideas and theories on it. My general thought on that correlation is, in many ways, you could kind of read it both ways, one causing the other, or just being related, in that, like, you could say that because someone has such a disconnect with their body and with their gender at such a young age, causes them to kind of not fit in socially with things, and causes them to develop socially differently, which then leads to autism, because autism is a sort of social development disorder on the whole. So, the disconnect with your body and your gender and how you feel and want to exist in the world sort of causes you to develop less socially, thereby causing a lot of elements of autism. Or you could read it the other way, in that a lot of like autistic thing, like your lack of developing socially, sort of allows you to feel like less connected with your gender, less connected with your sense of self, and so you sort of fall into being transgender because of that, or they just happen to be correlated. I do know to a degree, I will say this, that I couldn't tell you which one was the chicken or the egg scenario here, but I knew that I was a very social creature as a kid, but I was not able to connect with people really well because of autism. And I also knew that women were seen as the more social gender. Again, this isn't really true, but this is how society treats it. So there was an element of me that like was very jealous of girls in my age group who got to be more social just because they were women. And this isn't like saying this is their fault or anything, again, it's just how society treats people. But it was very much like, society just sort of said, like, lets women have a little bit more help in the social area than guys, because guys are told to not really be social. So there's also like gender, like toxic masculinity stuff in there as well. So I couldn't really parse out for you exactly what came from where and which thing came from where, but I do know it all kind of intermingled in myself. For a lot of reasons. Like, I wasn't really fully socially developed. I also wanted to be a woman, and I also like had this thing of like women were more social, and also society teaches young people who are seen as men to like have a lot of toxic feelings and like suppress feelings and suppress social ideas and things like that. It's a whole cluster fudge. I'll say that to sort of keep the live stream PG. So yeah, it's a whole lot going on. Wait, this glorious clockwork, how you doing? It's good to see you. we need to call each other because we met. This Glorious Clockwork was a coworker of mine and an absolutely wonderful person. And so we need to talk. I want to hear about everything going on in your life, so we should call each other in the near future. This Glorious Clockwork. Also, I will promote This Glorious Clockwork. This Glorious Clockwork does some really amazing biology videos. I think This Glorious Clockwork actually just released one. I think 2 days ago. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but if you want some really good science videos about biology and like love of science and some really amazing animation, please go check out Clockwork's videos. I'm actually gonna make you I'm gonna make you a moderator, which means This Glorious Clockwork, you should now be able to share a link to your channel. So please, I'm gonna end this live stream soon, in the next 5 minutes or so. So if you can, share your link out for your channel. Because you should totally, I totally didn't slip up and say This Glorious Clockwork, Council of Geeks. Don't you, no, shush. But please, share your link out for your channel, because it's a wonderful channel and you should all support it, because he is a wonderful person and also a wonderful channel. So. Jesse can talk remarkably quickly. I can talk way too quickly. I think that's probably one of my biggest problems with my videos, especially when I'm doing an unscripted video. If I'm doing a scripted video, I can generally stay at a better pace, but I'm sure all of you noticed that you should be a mod now. Maybe it didn't. Why didn't it add you as a moderator? Add moderator. All right, you should be a moderator now, This Glorious Clockwork. So, what was I saying? But yeah, no, I know the biggest problem that I have is I speak way too quickly because my thoughts go really quick. My brain is always working. And it probably leads to the biggest problem with my videos is I repeat myself too much and I overstate things and I say a lot because I am going faster than sometimes my brain keeps up with. So that is probably one of my biggest problems, but I do also just generally work really fast and think really fast, so I'm able to like keep up with my own words and thoughts for the whole, but I can do better about it. Thank you, Some Random Geek. I really appreciate it. Please, Some Random Geek just shared out This Glorious Clockwork's video or channel. Please go subscribe to them because they do great work, and I also know them personally, and I adore them with all of my heart. So, yeah, I know it's getting towards the end of this hour. Enforcer 6K, thank you so much for the super chat. You are absolutely wonderful. It's been an hour already. My goodness, good luck with your potential good news. I appreciate that. Sending you love for the super chat. Let's see. I'm gonna ramp out in about 2 or 3 minutes. So if there's any last questions, I would love to answer them. So. Just sub to This Glorious Clockwork. Good. Do it. Glorious Clockwork deserves all of the love. I have seen you speak, Some Random Geek. I would, yeah, I just talk way too fast. It's a problem. I do need to slow down. Where do you get all your Trek merch from? Most of the outfits I get from eBay because they're cheaper there, but they take a long time to get here. Like I actually ordered a Lower Decks costume when Lower Decks started, and it still hasn't even shipped yet. So we'll see when I get that. I was hoping to have it for my Lower Decks season 1 review when I did the full review of the season, but sadly it has not gotten here yet. What are your general views on Garrick? Garrick's a whole video and a whole discussion that I don't have time for, but Garrick, one of my favorite characters in Star Trek, period. I adore Garrick so much. So, absolutely lovely and very well done. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Steven. I really appreciate that. Sending you love, and thank you for the good job emoji. Sending you a heart. All right, everybody. I am going to wrap out. As I said, I hopefully will have some news by next week. I can't talk about it just yet, but keep an eye out. If I do hear anything this week, you will probably see a video on it on Monday. My Monday video will probably be on this topic if I can confirm it by that point. But you will see a video on it in the near future. Tonight, don't forget, I have my Star Trek Lower Deck review. So, review of the 9th episode of Star Trek Lower Deck. So, I'm excited about that. And then this Friday, the video that will be going up will be my latest Sacred Trek episode. We're going to be talking about Balance of Terror. I'm actually very, very proud of that video because it's going to be talking about racialization and how we create races, like the philosophy of how political systems create the idea of race. And relating that to how Spock is treated in Balance of Terror, and how he suddenly becomes ostracized for his race because of the Romulans. So it should be a really fun, may not be the right word for that sort of topic, but it should be a very interesting video. I'm really looking forward to everyone's thoughts on it, so be on the lookout for those 2 videos. Please go subscribe to both Council of Geeks and This Glorious Clockwork. And also because I saw him floating around in the chat as well, you should please go check out the Vedic Assembly, which is a wonderful DS9 podcast from friend of the show, Punk Rock Zoologist, who is out there in the chat. So check out all of those fine, wonderful, amazing folks, and please go and give them some support. And until next time, I wish you all a live long and prosper. So have a wonderful evening, and I love you all. Also, before I go off, I also do want to say thank you, Some Random Geek, for always being the consummate promoter and sharer of the stream. So I also want to give a shout out to Some Random Geek because you do a lot of work in these live streams, and I greatly appreciate it. And Steve Shives, I know you do a lot of work in Steve Shives stuff. So thank you. Last little note there for Some Random Geek.